Welcome back, my beautiful souls. And if you're new here, welcome to Essence of the Moon. My name is Selena, and today we're diving into one of the most refreshingly honest divination books I've read in a long time. This was sent to me by Crosscrow Books for my honest review, and The Modern Fortune Teller's Field Guide by Tom Benjamin, with the foreword by Maria Minas. And y'all, guys, this book is the backbone that many readers didn't know we needed. It's raw, it's thoughtful, it's practical, and it's brutally honest in the most honest possible way. It tackles topics that most tarot books skirt around completely. If you're a tarot reader, oracle reader, Lenormand reader, or any type of intuitive reader, psychic reader, basically anyone giving readings, you're going to want to hear this. Okay, guys, so thank you for sticking around, and let's start off with the cover itself. It's very gritty, very honest, very unapologetic, like something you would find tucked in the back of a fortune teller's table in their dimly lit room in the back of a store. As you can see, this person's getting a reading here. They're getting actually a palm reading, but she definitely has cards. She has runes. It's such a wonderful cover. Not only that, it's fairly thick, guys. This is a chunky little book. The Modern Fortune Teller's Field Guide is an essential guide to anyone seeking theory and history alongside divinatory knowledge. Though anyone today can pick up a pack of tarot cards or begin casting bones, fortune tellers have a responsibility in taking up that work to consider not only for forebears who suffered from the art, but also to understand the system of oppression that impact our clients. We must understand that spiritually bypassing a client's reality is not only ineffective but cruel. Historically, fortune tellers have always stood on the margins of society and have been villainized by the Christo-colonial powers that view divination as competition. The Modern Fortune Teller's Field Guide takes a contemporary and engaged approach to divination with a strong focus on social responsibility. Because fortune tellers can see the world as it is, we serve as a threat to structures that benefit from secrecy. Wow, guys. I mean, wow. This is pretty intense, guys. This is pretty in your face, very bold, very unapologetic, and I'm here for it. So it's not a tarot technique book. There's definitely are no cards, no spreads, no symbolism, no lectures in this. Instead, Tom teaches something a lot more valuable than what is being shown on here. How to be responsible, ethical, effective fortune teller in the real world. And there's a lot of ethics that I feel are bypassed when doing tarot, Lenormand, readings, spell works, any of that stuff. I feel we have a responsibility, a duty to have some type of ethics when reading fortune for people. A while ago, I'm going to say about a year ago, Angie from Roots and Waves had an ethics panel, about 10 people on there. I remember Miss Tarot D. I remember Elizabeth was in it. Ramon. There was a lot of people. Rochelle from Amethyst Ascension. There was a lot of people in that panel discussing ethics and how each person, how their own ethics changed or were different from the other person. So again, he covers on how to talk to your clients, how to manage different types of expectations, or what to do when you are wrong, if that happens. How intuition actually works, how to tap into your intuition. I feel like that's not really covered. I think every person, so it is covered, but I feel like every person has their own way of tapping into their own intuition, which actually works for them. But how to stay grounded during heavy readings. I recently had a hard time with that. As I've talked to you guys about this before, I was doing a reading for someone, and prior to doing the reading, I always go into a meditative state to kind of just ground myself. But in that meditative state, I was seeing a lot of death. And as I had to be very careful on the words I was using for my client, as to not further upset them because of all the death I saw. I saw the death of a baby that she already had. I just found, after that, I found out she had lost a baby 3 months ago. I saw the upcoming death of her father, whom is dealing with stage 4 cancer. So to me, it was something that was very hard to ground afterwards, because I got so into the reading, and it was such a long reading. It was about an hour long, and it's hard, guys. It's really hard. But he also helps you and covers how to avoid cold readings, emotional boundaries, spiritual burnout, all of that stuff that I went through. Managing psychic fatigue. I think we all deal with some type of psychic fatigue. Ethical fortune telling, as I mentioned earlier, empowering your client versus enabling them, the difference between predictive and projection readings, what not to read, when not to read as well. Last night I was supposed to go on a live with somebody and do readings, but my body had said, no, Selena, you're done. You can't do anything for today. You need to stop. And of course I don't listen. I was putting on my makeup, getting myself ready, and they made me get physically sick. So physically sick by puking. That's what makes me stop because I don't listen. So it's something that I need to work on a little bit more and know when I'm not supposed to be reading. How to deliver uncomfortable truth. How to avoid being a spiritual entertainer. This stuff is the stuff that nobody really teaches you, and it's something that you pretty much learn along the way and come across to along the way and figure out. But I feel like he did this in such a way that was, you were able to read it. Like here, he's giving you client information. He was giving you a way that you were able to read it without making you feel like, oh, that's me, instead of being told. Like, I'm not one that needs, like, I have a hard time if someone's telling me something, I have a hard time doing it or listening to it. I have to like find out about it on my own because I'm that stubborn, guys. I am very much that type of stubborn that stubborn person, guys. I really am, and I really have to just learn and stop being like this. I have to stop being like this, guys. But I do love that he says intuition is not like a magical beam of cosmic wisdom we pretend it is. Instead, it is a pattern of recognition, deep listening, Selena, deep listening, sensitivities, lived experience. Like when I'm getting told a message, they're giving it to me in a way that something is familiar to me. You know, something that I'm going to be able to understand and be able to relate to my client. So again, that is your lived experience. He validates predictive divination in a way that most people shy away from doing. it is okay for him, and what he said in here, to read the future. It is okay to predict, and it is okay to be specific. Ego trip, guys. But he also teaches you on how to do it without flattering yourself. So, ego trip, how to do it without flattering yourself, how to do it without making your head 10 times bigger, which I think you can do as a tarot reader, as a fortune teller, as someone who has these extra strengthened abilities. You know, I try not to let it get over my head or make me feel like I'm phenomenal or amazing or one of a kind. I try not to I think my guides make sure I don't get to that point. But it also does go into how to work with different clients. So here he has different types of assessments. What if I am an ego monster? Like, he goes through all of this whole ego trip with you. It's a bird, it's a plane. Actually, yeah, it's just a bird or a plane. So different types of nicely put ways of telling you, hey, you need to get off your little soapbox right there, guys. But he does go over different types of sections with different types of clients. The anxious ones, the skeptical ones, the ones who keep coming back, asking to be repeated the same reading. Is so-and-so, is John going to get back with me? What does John think of me? And then a week later, you get the same reading, or you get the same reader, the same person going to different lives, asking the same questions. I've seen that multiple times. The one that needs constant reassurance, the one who wants permission, the one who wants you to tell them what they want to hear. The ones who cling to you and all of your words, and the ones who ghost you, or the ones who test you and give you false information. Is John going to get back together with me when they're already married to Bob? And they're just asking hypothetical, let me test them first, BS. So it talks about the psychological pressures on how clients often come wanting hope, comfort, or clarity. But sometimes they also want absolution, they want justification, or even just entertainment. So keeping emotional boundaries is very important. How to avoid absorbing their panic, their grief, their codependency. How to avoid from trying to fix them, because that's also another issue. You want to be there to help them and fix them and put everything together for them, but you can't do that for them. So there's a lot of ethics that is mentioned in here and talked about in here that are super important for any type of reader, like avoiding traumatizing somebody, you know, or giving people the hard messages, which are so difficult to do. And for me, it's the relationship ones. I despise giving relationship readings because to me, it's blah. And if you don't know how John feels about you, I don't know what to tell you. You know, the cards are going to say something. They're going to really spread it out and tell you. But at the end of the day, all of that can change as well. What if you're too clingy and they don't want to be with you because you are too clingy or too needy? You know, it's stuff like that I really just avoid relationship discussions. But Tom does cover a lot of how to be incredibly honest, even when perhaps you are being wrong. Perhaps you are overconfident and you have intuitive interference, or you're misinterpreting the cards when, for example, the cards are meant to be read intuitively and not by the book. You know, there's times where that's happened to me. And I'm reading cards and they're more intuitive, but if I would have read them how they were by the book, it would have made zero sense to my client. Zero. But if I would have used it and read it intuitively like I did, the whole thing made complete sense to them. So, but instead of him fear-mongering, he teaches you how to recover gracefully, which is something that we probably need to learn, acknowledging without trying to collapse, how to maybe adjust your technique and communications with your client. And then there's the psychological aspect of being a fortune teller. He explains how fortune telling can intersect with anxiety, avoidance, trauma, attachment, self-fulfilling prophecies. But he does this in a way that empowers your client. So he does give you homework assignments, but not like horrible ones, just enough where you can kind of help build you up. So when the teacher is ready. So I definitely love this book. It helped me see things in a whole different perspective, and maybe refining my ethics and what I want to put out there and portray out there to my clients. I loved his honest approach in here, practical. The advice he gave was very practical. How validating it is for intuitive readers. You know, I know there's a whole thing of, oh, you shouldn't read them intuitively. I know there's some people that get really weird about you reading intuitively and not by the book. Screw that. But it also dismantles performative spirituality. It does focus on more of the human connection with your clients, and as well as respecting the reader and the client, how to do that. How to respect yourself, but also respect your client that's sitting right in front of you, or as we do on lives, on the other side of that screen with a bunch of other people listening. How to do things in a ethical, respectful way. And if there's something on the reading that is really bothering you, but you can't say it on live air, tell that person, hey, can I talk to you after the live? There's something else I need to discuss with you that's on here. That's another responsible, ethical way of reading cards to your client, even if it is online with a bunch of other people listening. So if you're new to reading cards, this book will give you the grounding information you need before you start developing some really bad habits. If you're a seasoned reader, I think this book will help sharpen your practice. And if you're reading professionally or plan to, this is an absolute essential. It's one of the most honest, helpful books with an actual experience of fortune tellers I've actually read. A huge thank you to Red Wheel Riser Books for sending this my way. This one is officially going onto my highly recommended shelf list. So let me know below, what's the biggest lesson you think all readers should learn? I'd love to hear your wisdom. And thank you again to Cross Crow Books and Aaron. This is such an incredible book. I appreciate your trust and support more than you know. And as always, may your path be guided by intuition, protected by spirit, and illuminated by the moon. Until next time, I'm Essence of the Moon, reminding you that magic is always closer than you think.